Come on in, make yourself comfy.
Yes.
Thank you so much, August, for coming down and being part of this project today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's start by getting to know you, though. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where you're from.
So I am originally from Memphis, Tennessee, raised in Colorado, moved around, but Denver is technically home. I guess LA is home for me now. But yeah, I'm the youngest out of three. I did come from like a conservative family, but they were like open-mindedly conservative, I guess you can say. Let's see, I went to school for fashion design and always big into arts and kind of like sexuality and how all those things kind of mend together. I feel like when you have like a creative mind, like sex and art and all those things kind of mend well together. Or they kind of like are kind of copacetic, I guess. I've always had like a interest in sexuality and my feminine sexuality, even like growing up and going through like puberty and go through those different stages in life to where you feel a little uncomfortable, like thinking like, oh, like should I be like thinking like this? Is this like something that like other girls and girls my age or should be feeling? So I kept like a lot of it to myself, and then you eventually find like a friend or a group of people that like you're like, oh, okay, I can actually talk to you about stuff like this, right? So I guess initially I used sexuality as inspiration for art, so like when I was in school I was very in love with the silhouettes for the women's figure and like all the different shapes and all the different curves and like that like soft sexy, and also like being able to do like a man's suit on a woman's body. Like it's very like feminine and kind of like merging all that together and like realizing that it's just like this very fluid kind of lifestyle. Then you start getting into the scene, you start going to the shows, you start realizing that there's like these little pockets and these little things that have like the music, the sex, the beautiful women and men coming down the runway, all of it. It just almost feels like an erotic experience without it necessarily being erotic. I started off modeling just like mainstream for a very long time. And then be about 4 years ago, I just started my sex worker journey. I became a dancer and doing all those fun things. And then I guess via social media, I was doing like the clickbait thing. I was like following a couple of like these beautiful girls in the industry, but I didn't know that they were in like the adult industry. I just saw like these beautiful girls and they're modeling. I was like, okay, start clicking, start clicking, start clicking. And then I got to my agency now, and it just felt like a good fit. I think that if I signed with another company or something like that, I don't think I would have had such an enjoyable experience. But I feel like I related to like a lot of the girls that were already in the industry, and it kind of felt like it just felt right for me. Like I hit that age in my life to where I'm like, let's just try it, and if I don't like it, doesn't mean like it's forever, you know what I mean? But I am comfortable within myself, I'm confident within myself. So I was like, fuck it, like let's try it, and I fell in love with it. My dad had like this massive like Playboy collection in his bedroom, and he had it organized very nicely. And like if when the magazines all lined up in order by month and year, on the side of it, it made like a naked chick. So I would just go in and like go snatch one of the Playboys off the shelf and then like have to like strategically place it back so he wouldn't, so he wouldn't know. So I would, at first it was like more so like me just like looking at like these beautiful women who are like happy and like laying there and they're like naked. And then I feel like some of my first memories was just like in that moment of just, you start to feel, all the urges that we all feel when we want to masturbate. And then I don't know, I guess I just, kind of started researching more, and then I was able to get a computer in my bedroom. Why my parents let me do that, I don't know. But like so you go on your computer, you start researching things, and then you start looking at stuff, and then you're like, oh yeah. So I feel like some of my first memories masturbating were very like research based. Like I was doing the research to figure out like, oh, like this, and this. Okay, now it's clicking in my brain, so I can do this. And yeah, so I really enjoyed it. It was like another self-discovery thing in my bedroom, one of those things of like, I think I had like went to go like buy my first like vibrator or something, and I don't even think I bought it. I think that it was gave somebody like $30 and then they had to go in and get it because obviously, you know. But I remember like when it happened, like the first time like it happened, I think I masturbated like maybe 5 or 6 more times like after that to like get that experience again. Cause then you're like, oh my God, like that, like it's so unreal, like how it feels, right? So you're just like, I could do that again for myself, like over and over and over and over again. So maybe I had like an addiction at a certain point because like, who doesn't like to feel good? Being in the industry, I think I've had like a lot of like first experiences that like you're like, oh, I didn't even know that I was gonna like that until like it happened. I would say that I've definitely become a lot more submissive in my natural sex life because when you're on set, you're doing like this whole like, you know, dance on set. But I've definitely tried a lot of things. I'm definitely more open and communicating with like my partners and just like being kind of bluntly honest with people. And a lot of people are like shocked when you're just like, hey, can you just like choke me out and like fucking like, come on my face or something? And they're like, yeah, I've never had somebody be this like open, right? So it's nice that to have that communication with the partner. And yeah, I guess over time I've been more open and trying things and want to give any partner that I've had like the space to say, well, this is what I like, or like, this is something that I've always wanted to try, but I've never had anybody to like try it with. So I'm also like receptive to my partners now. Even before like I got into the industry, I was always really on top of like my sexual health. That is like one thing that's always been big to me. Being on set, absolutely, you're definitely on top of it. I'm very self-aware of my body and like things, and you have to be, right? So you're like, okay, maybe you say like something's not right, and you say, oh, maybe I did like a cream pie scene. I know I'm gonna get like, it's gonna throw off my pH balance and I have to do 2 more scenes this week. So I'm very aware of my body more so than I was, I guess, in my normal sex life. But always on top of it, always getting tested. And then another thing when it comes to communication, especially in this industry, and let's say you were talking to someone outside of the industry, you do have to have that communication as well too, of saying like, hey, like I've realized that as like, hey, I just got tested 2 weeks ago, or not, I just got tested. I get tested every 2 weeks. I just got tested 2 days ago. My tests are clean. And like, you don't realize like how like kind of like mechanical it becomes when you do that. Like you just kind of like, you're just very open and honest and just telling them that. So I think for myself as well too, like I'm just very like open and honest with myself and saying like, okay, I know this, I know this, I know this, and I need to be on top of this. So just inner self-awareness with your health, I guess. When I masturbate for myself, I make sure like I'm at that point that where I'm so horny that like I can masturbate for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes and I'm like, fucking yes. Like I have to like build myself up to that. And I realized this, I had taken like a week off from like working and I was just like traveling and stuff like that. And then I was sitting there, I was like thinking, fuck dude, like I am so horny. And I guess you don't realize like when you're in set and you're getting penetrated every day, you're like, oh, like this is nice. This is so nice. And like when you're by yourself and you're like, oh my God, but I always travel with dildos, vibrators, and things like that. But I do masturbate. I still do masturbate pretty frequently. And of course, like if I'm doing like solo content on, any of my platforms, which is kind of like my favorite content to do because it's like, it's me, right? And every time I set up the solo content, I make sure that I am super horny and like turned on and I am ready to just like pop at that moment because it just makes it so much better and so much more intense. Because like, I don't know like how many people have had like a full body orgasm to where like from your toes to your head to everything feels good. But that's what I like to do when I am masturbating with myself. It's like getting myself to that point and then just like that full body release. I think that as women, we've all been through that place within ourselves. I would tell anybody who has those feelings of shame or, they don't feel right about it like I did when I was like growing up. I would say like, just try different things, relax, do what I did, like research, like, watch porn, like look at different things. There is nothing to be ashamed about because everybody's doing it. But just like take that time with yourself and learn what you like, learn your body. Maybe you just like using your fingers. Maybe like you want to use like toys. Maybe you're not really all that sexual at all, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you are like a super freak and you want to get like a gangbang and there's nothing wrong with that. Then you find that's when research comes in. You find your circles, you find your people, and you kind of go from there. you know, just like be true with yourself, be honest, and don't ever do anything that is because you think it's the right thing to do. Like if you're not an overly sexual person, just like to do missionary and like that's how you like to get off, then like that's who you are, you know? Like don't feel like you have to please, you know, this person or anybody because you feel like maybe you're like, oh, like I like vanilla sex. Like there's nothing wrong with that. So just really just be you, I guess.
Well, thank you so much for being yourself, August. It was a real pleasure to get a chance to talk to you and of course to be able to feature you on this brand and be part of this project. So I think we're now gonna maybe go do a little something that we just talked about. So I will
Yes.
go ahead and invite you to come off of the stage. Thank you. We
Thank
appreciate
you.